Are we ready to start?
Yep.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order at 5:33. Christine, will you do roll call?
Sarah Thompson,
Here.
Kat Stone. Here. Mike Baker.
Here.
Tom Trotter.
Here.
Janice Baker.
Here.
Jim DeLapp.
Here.
And Lonnie Rainville's absent.
Okay, Jim, do you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Not really. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will move on to the consent agenda. Has everyone had a chance to review the meeting minutes from January 9th and the preventive maintenance report?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes. I'll
I will-
move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mike, a second by Kat. Is there any discussion? Everybody in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. On to the financial report. Sherry?
Hello, I'm online today.
That's the S. I was wondering
You
what
look
that
so different.
Let's see, we should be using about 58% of our budget at this point. Payroll is still overall is at 41%. Material and services is at 45.8%. So far we're still doing really well. Does anybody have any questions on any of the variances, like, where we might be over? I can go over some of those if you have any questions about them.
You feel like we should have some questions, Sherry? I mean, I just find it so much easier if you just tell us what we should be looking at.
Okay. No, I mean, we're still doing really well. Any of the categories where we're over, like uniforms or travel, the uniforms were unbudgeted, so we didn't have a budget for them, so they're an unbudgeted expense. Travel, we used numbers based off the year before, and with COVID we weren't doing anything, so we just need to make sure that this year we're addressing some of those areas where we're over, and just make sure that we're budgeting appropriately for them this year. But overall we're still doing really, really well.
Do we budget a contingency too? I can't remember.
I believe we did, yeah.
Yes, we did budget for a contingency.
Yeah, it's good. I just figured when we're over, we'll adjust next thing, and we'll adjust the budget after that, and then we'll adjust the budget.
We are in good hands with Sherry.
And one of the things is because everything was stuffed together before, and when you're breaking it out, it's gonna look a whole lot
Right.
different. And
Right.
you're looking at what, this is your actual first year that you've been doing, so there's that problem. You know,
Yeah, this is our first year of really.
yeah, right. I mean, I still look at it, for some odd reason,
Yeah.
IT, it just bothers me. It's like we're 88% here already. And, but
But we don't have an IT guy yet.
yeah, do we?
Well, no, our IT is contracted out. And we're kind of at a place where we don't have any place to put anybody else until we get our building
Oh.
in place next door. And then we can move operations to the new building, and we can bring HR, IT, planning, those kinds of things in here. So, but we're not in a bad spot, those things. Instead of me doing all the HR, we have three of us sharing it now, appropriately for what our area of expertise is.
So if you put an IT over there, you better make sure you design a server room with coolers and all that stuff.
Actually, so there is gonna be some IT over there, but it's not gonna be our primary
That's
IT.
gonna be here.
It'll be down here,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Where we can talk to them and and they don't feel like aliens, or maybe they want to be. But who do we contract with then?
Cortec.
And they do our websites and all
Ah, that's who I should blame.
Oh, no, so that is actually because I provided direction and then I looked at it and wait, I don't know exactly what you're talking about. I had to make some corrections to our stiff application because I look at the website and I read public engagement. I scroll down, I see stiff, so I copied that as the go-to web page. When in actuality, the majority of our stiff information is under the board tab because it is a board committee. And so that was the thought process there, but it not everything clicked back and forth. And so I had to go in and make some corrections to our
I don't worry too much about the website either, because like the budget, it's kind of one of those things that's like,
it moves.
in hindsight, it's like, okay, well, we can make adjustments and.
Well, that's
Update.
something, but if it's our connection with the public, and I was on there today poking around, God help me. Because I was looking for the applications for the whatever applications for stiff stack or the budget committee or whatever, I cannot find stuff. So that was what I meant by that comment was.
I had the
was
same
lost.
issue this very week.
Okay,
No, last
all right.
week. Yes.
So I just know that it's not navigable, and it would be nice if at this far in that the public could access what they're looking for. Or the board members.
It's
No.
there.
I could be a board member or I could be a public.
You kind of have to know where to go sometimes to navigate. It's not as easy. It's not just obvious
Intuitive,
sometimes,
yeah.
intuitive, yeah. in
Yeah,
terms of
it's
where
not
things are at.
intuitive.
So what I did last week is I started any reference on the board page that should reference something that's actually on the public engagement page. I asked them to, you can click on the menu on the board page and it'll take you to that item on the stiff page. I did not make it to the stiff page to reference back to things on the board page.
Mhm.
Okay, well, maybe next month,
Working on it.
because I'll be back in there again next month looking for
Yes,
stuff,
it
know.
is definitely a work in progress, and this is a time when it needs to be very accessible to everyone, because we're getting ready to post the budget.
Yeah.
But that's stuff you put on the very front page, the home page there for a little bit, like a public
Like a-
announcement.
God, I
public
would
thing.
hope
Yeah.
so.
So it's just like really obvious. You don't have to go anywhere to anything. It's, the
Yeah.
notice is right there.
I just want us to be so much better than the
Budget
county.
hearing, here's the budget.
I do not want us to be like the county where you can't find anything.
It's worse now, isn't it, with the new
Yes, it's way
website?
worse. And they got the assessor.
You can't even
page is
find
a
the
mess.
search page.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I do
Okay.
that all the time.
Any other questions for
Anyway.
Sherry on the financial report?
We're supposed to be on the financial report. I'm sorry, Sherry.
Move to approve the financial report.
Second,
We have a motion by Mike and a second by Kat. Any other
Okay.
discussion on the financial report? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item 6, public comment for on-agenda items only.
There's no public.
The
here.
public.
No public.
Okay, hearing none. Moving on to old business.
Oh, she's on vacation.
Oh, it's like, wow, that's like a first for her.
The budget timeline review
Yep,
is gonna primarily be Sherry, but I will back up anything that I changed and she's not certain of what I did.
And action is
And-
required. Okay.
Sherry is muted in case she didn't know that.
hold on, I am trying to pull up the copy that you sent me.
Oh, okay.
I think that
I-
we still have to vote on the budget committee, the meeting dates, correct?
Yes, we need to decide. So we did the timeline and the spots that I highlighted in yellow.
Okay.
So the notice goes out to the budget committee members on 3/28. But those meetings, we need to decide what dates between 4/10 and 4/28 that you want to have the meetings. So we wanted to do that, including you, so that you would be able to attend. You know, and a lot of times, I know that with City of Winston, we do the budget committee on Saturday. And sometimes like, yeah. Like, City of Sutherland, we did it on Tuesdays and Thursdays when I was out there going to their meetings. So, we can pick whatever works best for all of you.
So in Roseburg, I think Roseburg was I don't know, a couple of Hatco, but we just select like 3 dates one week and 3 dates the next. And we mainly use one of those dates.
Okay,
So we give it like 6 days. So that, you know, that way they have time to make adjustments or to get some answers or something, but bring it right back. And, but it's basically it's over a 2-week period and we're done and out of there. Usually it's only one night. Long night.
I really appreciate your expertise on these things. I do.
yeah,
I would be lost.
Well, the only reason I stayed on it after I left the council was nobody ever would sign up for budget committee. And it's like, well, how do you ask people to be on the budget committee if you're not willing to do it yourself?
Yeah.
So I've been on it for 20 something years.
Wow.
that's awesome. All right, so 4/10 is our board meeting date, and it is the first date that we can choose. So it's the second Monday of April. So we have that week and the following 2 weeks, so 3 weeks total to choose from. So I
We
don't
just do a
know,
Monday, Wednesday.
we could do that. Monday, like oops, what have I done? The 17th and 19th and 24th and 26th.
Either way, yeah, that's fine.
It's far enough out.
Yeah,
I can figure it out.
Okay. As long as I.
and then you
don't
just
have-
advertise it that, you know, as needed or whatever.
All right,
If
the
necessary, and then we're
26th
covered
is
for plenty of meetings.
administrative professionals.
Like only one time have we ever gone to, we went to a few meetings.
Yeah. Like one of the not the very first one, but like the second one, maybe? I don't know.
No, not here. I mean.
Oh. Okay,
In his other
Really
life.
complicated, Yeah,
never mind.
yeah. This is just a nice quick afternoon, nice lunch.
Thought it was valid. All right, so we're looking at Monday, Wednesday, the 17th, 19th,
And the 24th.
24th, and
24th and
26th.
26th.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll notice for those on the 28th.
Are we doing them in
So-
an evening or?
Yeah,
you know,
5:30.
You want to do 5:30?
Just our regular time.
Yeah,
Okay. That makes it easier so people aren't missing.
that way you guys
work.
can get out quick too, yeah.
Mhm. Okay,
The 24th and the what?
26th.
Monday, Wednesday.
Okay.
So the other question that I had for you guys for preference is the budget can be provided to the budget committee members before the meeting or on the day of the meeting.
Before, at least a week or two before.
Okay, so it wants to go out with the notice.
Otherwise, it's gonna take more meetings, because then you're asking because that way we can sit there and we can review it, and then we have an opportunity to email Sherry,
Mhm.
you know, up to some period of time before the meeting. So that she's got time to respond and to all the budget committee, you know, everybody on the budget committee with the questions and the answers. So everybody can see those, and then we're at the meeting, we can talk about all that stuff if we still have questions, but otherwise it drags the meeting on if we have to wait till the meeting. see the budget.
So it needs to be, completed no later than 4/10. That's a
Maybe
week
just a little
before,
bit before.
or is it 2 weeks before?
3/28.
3/28, okay.
That's when we're gonna notice it, and when we
Okay.
notice it, we have to be able to send a copy of it to the
Okay.
web.
That's perfect, because
Okay.
it gives us 2 weeks, so a little over a couple weeks to do that, yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay.
Jim's
We need
already
a
got his pencil
motion
sharpened and his calculator out.
on that.
Oh, do we need a motion to approve the budget timeline? That's Sarah's question.
Yes, probably.
I think it says we did. A motion to approve the budget timeline, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Awesome.
I have a motion by Kat and a second by Jim. Any other discussion on the timeline? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Moving on to 7.2, Budget Committee Review.
So you have a list there of the 5 current budget committee members. All 5 have stated that they want to continue on being involved in the budget committee process. We're still looking for 2 members, which is where the question from Kat came from today about where our application was. So Christine reviewed the process that we've used in the past, and in the past, somebody was just recommended at the board meeting and appointed by the board. There was no application that has ever been out there by the district for budget committee members. We have the staff committee
Requires application.
but not the budget committee. So what we did is Christine did a bunch of super sleuth stuff online. And it's the why reinvent the wheel. And the first thing she found is Lane Transit District. They have bylaws for their budget committee. And so we do not have bylaws for our budget committee.
Funny, those words were about to come out of my mouth.
And so we did not print all of this stuff out, but we can forward any of it to any of you because we just didn't know what anybody might be interested in. And if we were going to forward a version of bylaws to you for review, then we'd want to put our own logo and stuff
And our
on it.
names and stuff.
I was trying to remember, if there's any bylaws for any of the ones I sit on. If there may be, I just haven't never seen them.
Yeah, so I
I mean,
figured,
we certainly have chairs and vice chairs and all that stuff, so there must be some kind of bylaws, I guess, but
and
Well, I
then-
would
I should
like,
ask for them.
I would like us to have some bylaws. I just feel more comfortable with being able to point to that, and hopefully there's an application process so that, people don't get overlooked, so we advertise, so,
Mhm.
right now, but who knows?
Well, it's fair, you're not appointing your cronies,
Right,
No,
exactly.
absolutely, because I have some cronies.
Come on.
In that case, maybe something like that, I would like that copy, you just
Uh-huh.
email it just so we can look at it and then.
Yeah.
Should think about it,
So
like you
we-
say, if we've never done it before, maybe we still don't need to. you
Right,
know, But it'd be nice to see what the other,
I think I
Larger
declare
districts have
that we
done.
need to.
so we need to look at, is it a requirement in the ORS as well?
Mhm.
And is it mentioned in our policy, because our policy, our
Mhm.
fiscal policy sets our budget process. And so if it's not in our policy, then we would need to add it to the policy if we're gonna add bylaws. But
That sounds
So,
complicated,
research.
but
We
it
just
isn't
need
really.
research.
Maybe, yeah.
so the SETD, which is the Northwest Connector up in the
Southern one, oh, good.
no, it's like Astoria.
Oh.
Yeah, they have a thing on their website that just says that they can submit a letter. And then Tillamook and Coos and Josephine and Chariots all have applications, but Chariots has this super duper application. They have the application. But don't fall out of your chair.
Yes.
Um,
You
but
wouldn't be the first.
it also, it lists all of the board members and the district number is associated with who gets to appoint that. If they are appointed for the district that board member represents.
Mini me's?
Well, it would be like, somebody from, Roseburg submitted one for whoever was
But we don't
representing
have,
Roseburg.
but we don't
Right.
have those.
Right.
And I was on the election website today and it doesn't agree with anything Ron told us about. Qualifications for our positions. It does not agree at all with what Ron said.
We'll have to look into.
Yeah,
I think it is incorrect.
it's totally
Yeah,
incorrect.
yeah.
It is like,
Yeah,
I don't know who wrote it.
yeah, exactly. Because I think that's what I was looking at originally and just like, what?
Yeah, yeah, I was
Yeah.
I was freaked out.
So the county's website is incorrect about our.
Yes.
requirements?
Yes,
Okay.
it says that it actually says that you don't have to live in districts, you don't
Didn't I,
have to be an
didn't that, that's what
elector.
I said when we
Yes,
came up, yeah.
It says all of the stuff that Ron said, that we totally have those requirements as being the entire area. It's not representative.
No vendors, no
Yeah.
everything that
Yeah.
we're allowed by law now.
Call and talk to them, they tell you that you do have to be a
Yeah.
registered voter of the district.
Yes, so you would think.
To any
And so
position.
I don't know who's putting together their website or,
County clerk. Office, yeah.
yeah, well,
So it also includes the local
Thank you.
budgeting in Oregon. Which I think is a fantastic idea to, if somebody's applying for a position. Rather than just throw them in there not knowing anything about what we're doing, that provides why we do it the way we do it. And our policy actually quotes the Oregon budget law word for word, because we have to do the same thing that it says to do. So I thought that one was really neat. So just a lot of different versions of how we could do it. There's nothing set in stone. We can do it however you guys decide to do it. And that doesn't have to be a decision made today, but
I'm thanking God for that because I've already got my hat full.
going forward for this process, do we want to put an application out there?
I think so.
Yes, please.
I think anytime we have a committee like that,
We
unless,
should have an
unless it's like an
application.
ad hoc committee, but if
Yeah.
we have a standing committee, yeah, I think we should always have, as a public body, we should always make sure we do that.
Yeah, so we can cannibalize one of those or make our own there. Christina's pretty good at making the fillable PDFs that you can fill out online and then print out. So,
I'm not convinced that we have to have bylaws, but I'm not opposed to it either.
yeah,
So, I mean, I'm fine with having them. I guess I never really thought about it, but
Well, I just thought,
just doing a quick web search, I can't find anything from the city or Rooster, other ones that I said, oh, maybe that's why I haven't seen them. I'll ask the question, but
okay,
I'm fine with having them if the board wants to have them.
so this is all stuff that you could send us,
yes.
and we can address it at the next meeting.
Mhm. Well, we'll have the
Applications for
application
the,
made and on
new
the website
members.
before then. Yeah.
good, okay, yes, because that was my other thing, was I was wondering if we were running out of time.
Yes, we are, because at our next meeting, we need to be fairly well internally through the budgeting process. So if we have new members, we want to have time to get them up to speed.
Get them oriented,
Provide them that budgeting thing to look at.
okay,
So we are at 5 of 7 now. We were at 6 of 7, but Jim had to go join the board.
Yeah, we're doing them on the board.
well, it's good to have the position filled, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Hey, any other
Okay.
questions on the budget committee? Okay, moving on to discussion of annual general manager review.
All I know is we were gonna include the previous evaluation form in the packet this time, and honestly, I did not go back and listen to the meeting, so I don't know if you provided me direction or not. It's been a long month.
Oh, yes, it has. Would you like us to provide you direction,
For what you would like to see for
or do you
my,
have a recommendation?
So I had asked Christine to include the form that we used last year that Lonnie had sent us in our packet, and kind of go over it and make a decision on if we want to continue using that form, if we want to make up our own, how we want to move forward.
I don't think we have the bandwidth to make up our own. Just
I agree.
frankly, and
I thought
we
this
should
one actually worked
probably,
pretty good.
yeah, I think we did fine last year. Or whenever that was,
it was last
it
year.
was last year, God, it seemed like it.
Because these are the criteria that we have on
Mhm.
your position, right? The general ones about the board of directors, financial sustainability.
Yes.
So I say that we keep grading apples with apples, and oranges, and use this form. If that's okay with you, Cheryl, did you have any recommendations to change it?
No,
I have one maybe modification.
okay,
Modification.
If you could provide, so two things maybe. One is just a list of your accomplishments, a list of, let's say I don't know if you had goals, written goals that you established last year,
I did.
but if you had a list of goals and how you met those goals and some accomplishments, and maybe some things that you wish that you, or that not wish, but you wanted, maybe some things that weren't so successful, or some learnings or something, where it just wasn't quite what you wanted it to be, or you wanted it to go. And maybe what you learned from that, I guess, would help too.
I don't think that you would have things you want to do, but because you had so many hats,
Yeah,
that some of those hats never got put on.
yeah,
And so that would be some,
yeah,
I guess that would how you would word it.
yeah. And what are some of your goals for next year?
Okay,
What are some things which I would imagine are gonna be in some of the budget and stuff, but what are some of the things that that you wanna lead the agency to? That's my idea.
I got some doozies. You're gonna love it. Okay, very good. I can do that. And when would you like these by?
Well, her review is due next month.
Okay, so
In March.
a week prior to the board meeting?
I would say if you send it out with the agenda,
Okay,
does that work?
But that's the Friday before the Monday, I don't.
Well, maybe get it a Monday before the Monday, but yeah.
We
But
can
a week
send it out on the Wednesday.
prior.
Okay,
Yeah, I'd say a week prior.
okay. I can do that.
Does that work for everybody else? I don't want to speak
Yeah.
for everybody.
Just a recommendation helps.
Yeah.
So also included in that is our process. You guys had a chance to review the process, and are we
Yeah, the
still in
first page?
agreement
Yeah.
that that's how we want to handle it?
Yeah, I would maybe, like I said, modify the process so that they're always providing us kind of how you met your goals and how you met those and issues and what your next goals are. I mean, it's just kind of nice to have some kind of report like that to get a more in-depth understanding than just simply how we rate them.
And keeps us from getting out on another planet
Yeah.
or something.
That allows us to base some of that on some of our answers
Yeah,
here on what you provide to us.
yeah.
So we're gonna use that and
Keep
what
us
we know
focused.
here to do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need to do any kind of a salary survey? I know there's been a lot of changes in salaries over,
Have there?
oh, yeah.
Well, I don't spend a lot of time looking at that all year round. I
Well,
would say that's your job.
So we have a salary schedule
yes,
for you and the other managers at least, right?
yes.
Maybe the drivers, but I can't remember the other positions, but have we modified those at all or done or?
So we
I mean, we
modified,
have different steps, right? Step on step.
Mhm. we modified the ones for finance and operations manager at the same time that we modified
This one.
the one for the general manager.
But we haven't done anything since really then.
Mm-mm.
Do we need to?
Well, the only reason that I mention it is because of course, with inflation, there has been a huge jump in a lot of different kinds of wages. I mean, even just drivers' wages, was Julie was saying that they start at $25 an hour in Medford for drivers,
How much do we?
18.
Oh, my.
Which is a big jump up from.
And that is,
Yeah.
and that was one of our goals was to be a premier employer.
Right, and so for the demand response drivers, because they don't have the credential requirement of the CDL. I mean, if they do have it, we give them credit for it, but they start at 17 and our new restaurant, In-N-Out Burger, it's got a big old sign on the door that says now hiring $17.75 an hour and up. So they're hiring at a higher rate of pay for fast food than what we are currently
Well,
offering.
it's absolute reality of what should have been happening for the last 2 decades. So if we can, that's my feeling. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but my feeling is that we still want to be a premier employer. And I think that we need to look at it then.
I guess I do too, but. No,
Doesn't necessarily mean that we can make a change to it.
exactly. And so I was thinking that we don't necessarily have the time to do that right now. So remember, we got to adopt a budget here real shortly in April, and a salary survey takes some time to look at. I would say since we have the step, the different steps, the salary schedule, that we stick with that. But I was just gonna say in the process piece of this document, that the
Maybe
board
that
should
would be a
decide
thought.
on any board, well, the last one should be the board to decide on any form of additional compensation. And I say form, because form could take a lot of different things, right? It could be, it could be extra vacation days.
Right.
It could be salary, and, I mean, you can do all sorts of things, right? As a board, it could be a personal vehicle allowance. I've seen all sorts of things, different
Okay.
notifications.
Again, your expertise is.
But I would just leave it at that. I mean, we've got
Thing.
that
And
set
do
for now.
Okay,
And then just later on, I don't doubt that we need to probably do it. Maybe we want to conduct a salary survey, but I just think that's gonna take more time than we have now. And
Yeah.
even, and it may even be something that, I don't know if it's even implementable this year. I mean, it depends on what we've got in the budget too.
well, I'd like to see us try to do something before the end of the year.
But I think we gotta look at it. I mean, it could be a task or something. that we-
Okay.
Well, so the other reason I ask is because we are getting ready to go into the budget process. So if we are forecasting for a certain rate of pay for, and I realize I brought this up during my review portion, but it wasn't just specific to.
That
me,
isn't
it's
where
to the
my brain went
agency.
immediately. It's, in fact, I haven't got there yet.
I think you always budget for, so when I do my budget for my cruises, I always budget for step increases.
Yeah,
Whether they get them or,
or not.
or not, you budget for them. And you
Yes.
budget for a COLA,
Yes.
a certain amount, not always knowing exactly what it is. But yeah, I think you should budget that. It would, sort of putting a budget together, I'd put a budget together like that.
I don't know if we ever passed on to you guys the number of thank yous that we got for the COLA you gave last year. It
No,
was.
I'm pretty sure we didn't hear that. I'd like to hear that.
It was pretty amazing, because it did fall at about the same time that some of their reviews fell. And so they were confused when they got they thought that they got a raise for their review and didn't realize it was the COLA. They didn't read the letter. And then they got another one like 2 weeks later and they're like, oh, but wait, what just happened? You know, because one was their review and merit increase and the other was the COLA. So they were super excited. Yeah.
Well, I'm
Very
glad
good.
that we are
Very
making
huge.
them happy, and I hope that we can continue to be a premier provider.
Yes. Yes, yes. Okay.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the general manager review process?
I'm so moved.
Yeah,
With the things that.
I was
Mike
just gonna
added
add
at the
that,
end.
those pieces there about make sure that's part of the motion about adding the general manager's report, I guess.
So moved with Michael's
And
adjustment.
the board's salary review or whatever.
So that the salary review could be part of the goals for this
I mean,
next year.
The staff,
Oh, my.
The board should decide on whether additional compensation is warranted
Okay,
for the general manager.
oh, that's how we got
I
there.
think that's how I would say it,
okay.
yeah. So it doesn't mean it's automatic, there'll be times, well, last time we didn't, because they just give you a big giant raise, and so it felt a little funny.
So are you making a motion and I'm gonna second it?
I know, I'm just saying that's kind of part of your motion, I'm clarifying the motion, I guess.
Yeah,
And then seconding
okay.
it, it's gonna be seconded.
I make the motion as clarified by Mike and then we need a second. no?
Second.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion by Kat and a second by Mike. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any approved? Or, sorry. Any against? Okay, motion passes. Moving on, we don't have any new business, is that correct?
New business.
No.
Okay,
Because you did
the other end,
the budgets.
okay.
Okay, so moving on to 9.1, project next door.
Oh, okay, so, we don't have, and I apologize, I really meant to get this on your cover page and I just never got there. We do not have the NEPA approval yet, so we're still waiting on that. But in addition, I am still working on the RFP for the contract management piece of it. And that really needs to get done. And I have been putting that off in order to accomplish other things like grant applications and things of that nature. And we've had an abnormally high number of HR issues that required an intense amount of time. So and I took time off for Christmas, you know, so not making excuses, just saying that I still have work to do on that. And that's the next step. As soon as we have the NEPA approval, is to have contract management in place, getting our permits and things of that nature. And then we go from there. So that's really all I have for the one grant, which is for the improvements next door. But for the next one, the low no, it also includes some of the improvements next door too. So that's what I forwarded you earlier, is the actual build specs for the 3 electric buses, which have the pricing in it. And so that's what I wanted to drag your attention to.
The pricing.
Yeah, the pricing, which is not put into the,
That was the Procore or whatever it was, or the.
yeah, Sandy,
Yeah.
or something like that. And
Yeah.
it's because we are getting the same build as City of Sandy.
Yeah.
So we have our meeting and go through the specs and what we definitely want, what we definitely don't want. And then City of Sandy did the same thing. And then we came back and said, okay, well, City of Sandy definitely wants this. And to me, it didn't matter which windows tipped out, you know, those kinds of things. So just made little tweaks and adjustments to the to the build to make it match, but we're still doing our own colors and, you know, all those kinds of things. So they're gonna be impressive. I just am so impressed with the product. The seats will have USB connections in between the seats, so they're not in front of you. And these are the kinds of discussions we have. If they're in front of you, then and you plug into the seat in front of you, then the wire will get in the way if somebody has to get up and out and but they're also right there in eyesight where people might just decide to stick stuff into them, you know, plug them up, because, you know, people do strange things when they're riding the bus sometimes. But with them down between the seats, you know, they're kind of out of sight, out of mind kind of a thing. So we have picked colors for the fabric on the seats and for the flooring and for, we're doing, oh,
Easy to clean.
yes.
Scotch guard.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of forward motion. We did a meeting regarding the oh shoot. What do you call it when it turnkey? The turnkey solution for installation of the charging for the buses. When we're doing, so that will, even though it's the second grant, it will fall in the timeline with the first grant. When we had the ground broken open and we're
Oh, okay.
laying utilities and all of that kind of stuff. So that's why it was so important to get these two together. And it's just, it's like a gunshot that's what happened. It's like amazing because everything it's just so intermingled. So sorry,
Okay,
my brain starts spinning on
Okay,
these.
let me interrupt for a second then, because I don't want to drag things out, but why do we have a non-disclosure agreement?
Because we are gonna have access to proprietary information. So that's, and vice versa. It's a mutual non-disclosure agreement. And I haven't signed it yet, and it's pretty standard. But I wanted you guys to have the opportunity to review it before I signed it.
Could you look at that?
And we would sign that at the same time that we.
Well, if you didn't look at it, how do we know? And I don't know
Just
what a
In general,
standard.
in general, not this document itself, but.
Okay, yeah, oh, it's
standard.
standard in contract negotiations in large purchases with government grants in public.
Well, and with proprietary information, the batteries that Proterra uses, they're like top of the line, and they're having breakthroughs. They have a research and development plant where they are just working constantly to make improvements on the current build of the
Well, it sounds
vehicle.
exciting. I just was leery just because, and I wanted to know if that's an answer, and I like it, and we don't have to drag it out.
So-
Unless somebody else wants to.
So then another piece of the update would be, it's unfortunate, but California has priced Proterra out of their area. Between the,
I think they priced a lot of people out.
yeah, so the people that actually own the
That's a lot.
building that their production happens in, they've raised the rent like $3,000 a month on the building that where they build the vehicles. So they're going to move all of their production back to Greenville, South Carolina, which is where they built a mega factory. They've got their battery factory back there and everything else. So it's like 3 times the size of the factory that I went to down in California. And they have invited us out for a tour of the new factory and facility for the batteries, and to answer any any more questions that we might have, that kind of thing, but they reached out to us last week. They've invited City of Sandy, Dwight Brashear with City of Wilsonville, and Austin, I believe is his name, in LTD and Umpqua. They're inviting the team. So the project management piece for us has included, we needed to find somebody that had electrical expertise that could start into the project, from the gate. So we did hire as a driver Sherry's husband, Andre, who is an electrical engineer, and he had prior preventive maintenance in the fleet management area in his career prior to becoming an electrician. So he's very knowledgeable, and I brought him into the turnkey meeting, and there is a language that goes with electricity that I can figure it out and I can look it up, but I'm not following along knowing exactly what they mean. And he was able to ask questions in that meeting that I didn't even realize were a thing. So I think that we were very fortunate to, man, it just all fell into place, so it's going to be helpful.
Okay.
So one of the things that we're going to do there is there's going to be 2 job descriptions, and until he starts filling the role of the electrical engineer preventive maintenance management over in our new building, he's a driver, and he's learning.
Promote from within.
Yeah,
That's
he's
a good
learning
thing
our
to do.
business from the bottom up. But then he's also creating buy-in and creating relationships with our employees. And he has the, I don't want to say OCD, but kind of OCD that comes from, when you work with electricity, you have to do the right thing
Yeah,
at the right time and follow the correct
we are
safety
very
protocols
fortunate for that.
and all of that. So it's really nice to have another person on our team that's looking at that. Our operations manager is also got that same kind of mindset. And so it just feels like we're building a really good team. And
It
that's,
sounds like it. I like it.
yeah, so that's where we are. There's a whole lot of stuff, but nothing that is that you can actually see has happened other than the contracts that I forwarded to you. Ron Sperry did go through the contract. I went through the contract. I conferred with Jennifer Boardman, and she agreed we cannot pay for a vehicle before we take delivery, which is how the contract was originally written, that we'd pay for a quarter of it when we started the build, or a third of it, something like that. And then partway through, we'd pay for some more, and then we'd pay for the last of it at delivery. And I told them we can't do that. And they accepted the change to, we would pay our match money up front, and then the balance on delivery when we get the buses. So it's just
They should know that.
pardon?
They should know that.
They probably do, but there are probably agencies that they work with that's not a requirement. Because some of the agencies, they actually,
Have other funds that aren't federal.
yeah.
Yeah, they're not Oregon.
Well, because they're federal funds, so,
Well,
but maybe they're tribes with money from casinos or whatever else that are funding purposes.
Or,
Mhm.
yeah, there's a
Mhm.
few different ones that. So that's all I got about the projects next door.
Is there any kind of a time frame? How long does it take them to build? Do you have any idea? Or are they on
Supposed to get them
hold
this
because
month.
they're moving back to North Carolina?
Oh, no, it actually, unfortunately, it kind of speeds up the timeline.
And so we're not gonna have this ready by the time we get the buses.
That's my fear. That's my fear.
Uh.
But as long as we get the the excavation, the utilities in, you know, ground broken, leveled,
Right.
and all of that stuff, and get the pavement in, and the parking
charger.
structure, yeah. So there's some debate about that too, about whether or not the charging should be inside the building with the other vehicles. They talk about a thermal event. If you have a thermal event, something that we want to have on site that we don't have yet, but it's an easy enough thing to procure, is something that will either push the bus out or that could pull it out depending on where it is in the lineup for charging. Because if there's a thermal event, you can't start it and get it out. You have to have a way to push it
Let it
out.
burn.
Yeah,
Is a thermal event cold or hot?
it is hot.
Okay.
Extremely hot.
Really
Once,
hot, all right.
once an
All the
electric
batteries are going.
vehicle starts to burn, there's really no putting it out unless there are some specially trained ways to do it. But in the one that happened in Connecticut, even though the fire department was trained in how to do it, they didn't. They let it burn, and it burned for days. Yeah.
It's harder than stop, drop and roll.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons that I chose Proterra, is because the batteries are, they have in each one of the little lithium ion pieces, or tubes that is then covered, with, it has a pull tab that is the conductive piece. And so it goes to the conductive material that's around the outside. If that pull tab burns, then it changes the thing to where it can't communicate with all the rest of them, and it just stops right there. That's one of their claims to fame. And
Cool.
I probably didn't explain
No, I
that
get it.
technically.
No, it sounds just fine. I understood it
All right. So
without
that's,
having to get a degree in it.
any more questions? Oh, we'll have degrees by the time we're done.
I thought we would have a couple of vehicles by this month or next. And are these they?
The electric vehicles?
Yeah.
No,
Okay, so the ones we are expecting are just regular diesel fuel.
sort of, kind of, but not really.
Oh, good. I like
There are 3 that we were notified. They're Class D 16 passenger, 3 ADA stations. So they're very small buses, and they are hybrid. And so they notified us in November that hopefully we would have them in December, but they were looking at January, and we don't have them. But we did get a call asking if we still wanted COVID barriers. And the reason was they were putting the COVID barrier in and realized that you couldn't reach, as the driver, the fare box to be able to drop the fare with a COVID barrier there. And so we opted to not have COVID barriers. It's and because it's a credit,
Randy will build some for you and get him in there.
right? He could do something. He is a jack of all trades.
Okay, I trust Randy, so
All right.
I
So-
accept
so-
that explanation.
So if we get the electric buses and that isn't ready, do we have a contingency on
Where
what
we're
to
gonna
do
put
with the
them?
buses or?
No, I haven't looked that far ahead. No. Actually, I would probably look at postponing delivery of the vehicles until we have the charging infrastructure in place. And that's really what they're looking at too, is they don't want, number one, they don't want to ship us the charging, I'm gonna call them a transformer, and that's not what they are.
It's an apparatus.
Yeah, they're huge. Yeah. They don't want to ship us that until we have the ground ready,
Okay,
you know, but we ordered them early enough on a letter of intent. As soon as we found out that we were selected for the grant. So that's not binding, you know, we don't have to take them if we, for some reason, weren't able to get the grant. But with the letter of intent, we were able to order them. And so they ordered them clear back in October. And so they should be here probably by June. Yeah, so we're making progress, but it's all like behind the scenes. And so I start getting the,
Well, I don't want to get the cart before the horse, and until the ground is broken, I don't want to see anything that needs to go over there.
right? Because we got no place to put it.
Yes. And then it starts to look all cluttered, and the county commissioners get all fluttered.
That's funny. All right, no more questions?
Mama,
So for general, I'm just taking over for Sarah here.
Go for it, thanks.
make it easy.
For the general manager's report, I would draw your attention to the total fixed route ridership for 12 months. With it having gone up to 76,178. So that is still about 25,000 less than it was pre-COVID. But it is an extreme increase over where we were this time last year. So we are just about double what the ridership was last year. And across the board, and some of them like Winston and Sutherland, last year that was 409 in February, and this year 1236. So that's a direct result of the increased frequency and hours, and you know, part of it I'm sure can be attributed to COVID comeback, you know.
South County one is strong too.
Yes, yeah, they came up by about 400, 300, something like that. So I'm really excited to see we continue forward momentum there. Also our Saturday service, it went up over 100 per month from February of 22 at 254 to January at 355. So that's just been kind of a steady increase. Our highest month was October, which tends to always be our highest month. And that was 462 for
Why is
us. Probably back to school for the college. So a lot of kids will ride the bus until they find a different way to do it.
Or burnout.
Yeah. And then Crystal was really happy with her graph because it shows not only the ridership on the demand response, but if you'll see the bottom bar is the blue paratransit, our UPTD paratransit.
Okay.
And then the orange is our UPTD Umpqua rides, and you can see how they have switched. And that is a direct result of our dispatchers are now appropriately scheduling the rides within the paratransit service area and the demand response service area. And then Mercy takes the greater majority of the 5310, you know, seniors and disability that are not paratransit. And so everything that's not within the paratransit service area, Mercy and City of Greensburg. So that's the direction that we wanted it to be. And now when we get more vehicles, we'll be able to add more service to various different areas. We are still not serving Glide and Glendale as well as I would like to see. We do some rides there, but not a lot. But one of the things that the dispatch scheduling the appropriate type of ride onto the appropriate kind of vehicle, and we do MTM. There were a lot of people that were riding Dial-A-Ride for free. to their doctor's appointments from all the various different rural areas that actually qualified for NTM. And so,
What's in here?
the medical transportation. And so we see them on our MTM, which generates income. And so they're on the appropriate type of ride for where they should be. But previously it was costing us money to provide that ride. And now it's generating income to provide the same ride. So they're just some of those anomalies. And Crystal, with her doing all of this data, working with it. So if we have two different types of rides on one vehicle, she has to go in and manually separate the miles and hours and rides for the vehicle. And because she's doing that, she's very intimate with the data. And she can pull it every which way from Sunday. If I need a number, it might take her a few minutes and sometimes a few days, but she will find me the number that I need. So super excited about the direction that we're going, and we didn't finish the buses. So the three vehicles that we heard about in November are the buses that are currently being built. In December, maybe it was January, I don't know, it's all running together now. There were 9 vans that we had ordered over the multiple different grants, and it looks like they're all gonna be here probably in March.
And we have space for them.
Well.
The parking lot did look empty when I got here.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering what you're gonna do.
Yeah. Well, it's like, if it was my house, you'd have to figure that out. So I think we have to.
The one thing that I am gonna talk with ODOT about, because I know that there is a process and I don't know if we're allowed to do it, but some of the vehicles that we're running right now are very old. They're 2011. Excuse me, and they've already been replaced. And the only reason that we're still running them is because we haven't got the replacements, you know, the ones that are still on their way. So if we could have our medical transportation division purchase those vans from our public transit division, then, and it seems weird, but it's the color of money.
Yes, yes. I
Seems like you could
understand.
do that.
Yeah, but I need to make sure that we do it the right way, and
Jennifer would know, right?
yes.
I'm
And
sure we're gonna find out in a minute.
yeah,
If we haven't put her to sleep.
always before we have gone out to auction when we got rid of vans, but we don't really want to get rid of them. We want to transfer them to a different form of service.
I like that idea very much.
So then if we can use those older dial-a-ride vans for the medical transportation and the new vans to better serve those outlying areas.
You can
Mhm.
put more miles on them.
Then, and when those Class D buses get here, we can start our connector that we've been holding for Cottage Grove to Wolf Creek. So we'll be able to get that in place kind of just in the nick of time, because South Lane Wheels may or may not be able to continue their service. They did not get funded for it yet, the service that they're providing
Right.
from Cottage Grove to Roseburg, but the ridership was not there either.
Well, it's
Is-
hard
is
to have
why
the
they-
ridership if you don't have a vehicle, so nobody's gonna get on an invisible car.
Yeah, so the Greyhound quit.
Mhm.
They're
Stopping.
like, I thought they were just half. I thought they were just reduced their service by 50%.
Oh, then maybe
One-
I'm
So I
misunderstanding.
think I thought there was. just-
One trip a day. I used to have 2.
Did you say one trip a day?
Yeah.
Okay, then I misunderstood. One trip a day. So that's Greyhound now.
Wow.
So it sounded like they were just stopping completely, but they gave confirmation after the fact that it was just half. And they
Okay.
may pick up later. I'm thinking not, because I don't think they're doing very well as an agency, but
But they might get a bailout. That seems to happen.
Probably will.
They're a pretty big company, you would think they would.
Yeah. So that's kind of my update. I did not do a formal transit manager's report this time. Because we have just been busy. Like, it seems like really wrong to sit down and just try and figure out, what did I do this month?
How did the facility tour go with the other providers?
Oh, Scott Chansey is the only one that
no.
came.
Oh.
Yeah, nobody else came, but that was okay. Cause you know, it was nice to see his reaction,
Mhm.
you know.
What do you think?
This is nice.
Yeah.
And you know,
'Cause he's
there's,
just getting some new offices finally.
yeah,
Who's that?
Josephine County Public Works
Oh,
runs their transit system in Grants Pass, and so they're building a transit hub. You know, where you transfer between buses downtown, and as part of that, there'll be a building that will have some offices and stuff for transit. But right now, they're just kind of jammed in Public Works out in some other facility, you know.
yeah, off the beaten path, yeah. Yeah, but he was, you know, he's watched me from the point where I interviewed for for manager positions at UCAN to, they didn't promote me, they made me the interim, and then asked him to come in and review our system. And his review was, you guys have somebody that knows how to do the job. Why don't you just give her the job? You know? And so it was very interesting. So he's seen me from the very bottom to coming to this, you know? So it was nice to see the look on his face, you know, I'm super proud of you look, you know? But it is nice, you know, you think about it, you walk into this building and this is nice.
Yeah, as
oh,
well.
yeah, well, we cleaned up good.
So this is really nice compared to like Coos and Curry and.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes.
oh, yeah.
Well,
Well, I don't know, maybe Coos meets in a different place, but they used to meet in a downstairs kind of conference room at the Council of Government or whatever it was, the South Coast Business
Yes.
Development, something
huh.
Yeah,
kind of often.
Jennifer, you're really hard to hear unless you have something really important. I think that we can't listen. It's,
She's always got something.
it's really
she always
broken.
has good stuff.
Yes, she does, but I want to hear it. I don't want to
Okay,
just,
then we have to be quiet.
okay.
something is really nice. They have a new building, Mike. You would be
Oh, do they?
surprised at what their building looks like. It's really nice. They just purchased one with the infrastructure bank.
Oh, nice.
About 2
We've
years
been there
ago.
2 years.
You were at it, Cheryl, when we went to the training there. They got out of the senior center and they have their own building now. So
Oh, in Curry County.
Curry County, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought you said.
Also has a new building too, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty small. I have, is it my turn yet or is it?
yes.
Please.
On the NEPA got turned in early December to the FTA for their review, but have not heard back from them. We heard back on 2 other ones that we turned in on the same day. And they asked for additional information, but we have not heard back. I'm anticipating something soon, hopefully. But they say that it can take 3 months. So we will see what we get back on that one. On the vehicle, I am still waiting on DOJ to get us the grant agreement, but I sent an email off to Joe today to ask if we could get pre-award authority. Because I think you said at our meeting that if you got pre-award authority, then it would allow you to purchase the buses still at the same price. So I asked
Yes.
for that, or give me a status update, or get that agreement to me right now. So
Go, Jennifer.
the agreement,
I like it.
because they've had that agreement since, I think I wrote it back in October or September. I don't know, they've had it for a long time and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. So that's that. The vehicles, it kind of depends. Is your medical part of your agency itself?
Yes.
And you've already replaced the vehicles.
So they were actually replaced by Douglas County before we received them, a couple of them.
Okay.
But we still have them in service. And then a couple of the 2011s were replaced before we received them. And then the 2014s, they're in this 9 that we're replacing right now.
So I guess I'm trying to decide what you're trying to accomplish by, other than you need more vehicles for your medical transportation, right?
Yes, we need to purchase more vehicles for medical transportation.
So you should be able to just take them out of your out of service for the public transit. But you're not going to sell them to them, are you? What are you, I guess?
Well, so I didn't know, I thought that we had to, I didn't know.
You can transfer them for free to nonprofits and things like that. Seems like you'd be able to transfer them for free,
To a
keep
program.
them with just a different program in the same agency.
Yeah,
Okay.
be able to,
Mhm.
just like with Curry County, we had some vehicles and we were able to, take them off of the public transit and then just transfer them over to, I think the police took them. So it's just a matter of transferring them out.
But what about the valuation? Is there a financial balance?
Well,
Use on one side and gain on the other?
yeah, so nowadays, each vehicle, if they were purchased with federal funds, the maximum you can get for them is $5,000 plus administrative fees. So if you get anything more than that, you have to pay it back to the FTA. It's this new rule that they put in place with the IIJA. So it really, there's not much benefit for trying to sell them to another agency or putting them up for auction even, because you can't keep very much of the money anyway, which it's too bad. So, because if that's the case, then you could sell them and then, use them for other vehicles. But the max you can keep is $5,000 according to this new rule that went into place in 21. Let me do some checking on that, because if it's part of your agency, I don't know why you couldn't just donate them to your medical. You're not providing. Let me do some checking.
Okay,
Some of that's in the finance policy.
okay.
There's some stuff on, disposition of vehicles or something like that, some different ways you can get rid of them.
Okay.
And other than that, we have the SIF discretionary review committee meeting in a week. And so all the applications, the 74 applications were scored. It's a really tight solicitation. I think Cheryl mentioned the 5339, the new one, the low-no, and the 5339 just general. They had a great, I think Proterra actually sponsored this great webinar today about what the requirements are for that grant, the 5339. It's a really short turnaround. You have to have an email into ODOT letting us know what kind of vehicles you're purchasing by the 24th of this month. And then the application itself has to be into us by the 10th of March. So really tight turnaround if you're interested in that. Some of the things that we are working on right now is STIF plan reviews. We sent out information last week regarding any updates, and I believe that Drew accepted all of your updates on Friday afternoon. I was talking with him, so you should be good to go on your STIF plan. We have new people up in Salem, and so they're asking different questions than, than we've ever been asked before on the STIP plan. So those should be ready to go on July 1. And I completed the statements of work over the weekend for the 5310 and 5311. And once those are approved by Director Strickler, we'll start getting those out to the agencies for your signature and approval. Anticipating having those to the providers by April 30th and then back to us no later than June 15th in order to execute for July 1. And those are the formula funds. And
It's
I
a
think
lot.
that's all I have.
Okay, any other questions for Jennifer?
Oh, one other thing, sorry. I sound like Perry Mason. One more thing.
No, it's Colombo.
Colombo, yeah, that was one more thing. Right now we're looking, it doesn't look like we're gonna have a conference in the state of Oregon for the Oregon Transportation. We don't have a training coordinator. I'm currently working on the stuff for the training in addition to my other 3 jobs that I have, but so we're supposed to be hiring a training coordinator, depending on how fast we can get them through HR. But in addition, and Cheryl's on the OTA board, so she knows that Kelly is getting ready to retire, and I don't believe they have a replacement yet for him. And so they don't have the capacity either to put on a conference. What they're talking about doing is we have scholarships through 5311 rural, and we are talking about allowing folks to get scholarships and attend the Washington State Conference instead of the Oregon Conference, or people can attend like the CTAA or some of the other national conferences. We haven't gotten final confirmation on that. I'm still waiting, and I'm finishing up the scholarship application because our scholarship application that we had before had fatal flaws. So I should have that done by this week, and then people can start applying. There is a conference, I believe, middle of March in Leavenworth, Washington, and quite a few of the folks are going to be going to that. And I'm not sure exactly what it's concentrating on, but then there's also an additional conference in Vancouver, Washington. And then I think Spokane is where their annual conference is this year. So lots of opportunities close to us. And then we'll be looking at some training opportunities for drug and alcohol and procurement, hopefully this summer.
Now, all that information, those dates and places is available on your website somewhere?
Not yet, because they haven't made the final determination on that. So it will be once we get that, that information, so.
Okay.
Yep. And additional funding that's coming down this summer. We're going to have some CARES funding. Not sure yet. I think it's just going to be for operations. And that will be sometime in July, and funding to go out October 1. And then next January or February, I think is what we've said. The end of February, first part of March will be our regular discretionary vehicle discretionary grants. So the 5339 and 5310 and STP, I think. So
And is that 2024?
2020 January. I think the information is going to come out in November of 23 for February of 24. Grant funding July of 24.
Do we have any idea how much CARES funding?
I think they're working on that. I've heard several different numbers, so I wouldn't want to say anything
Yeah.
and then take it back from you. Like, say add 20% to your application and then take it back.
Yeah,
Would you?
yeah. I know that statement.
Yeah, I won't go there.
Ooh,
That's all I have now, I promise.
Okay.
Okay, anything not on agenda that anybody has?
I do. I didn't realize until I was listening to Jennifer, the low no offering this year. One of the things in the contract that we are preparing to sign says that we have a contingency to be able to order 3 more buses that are exactly the same for the same price. And so I don't know if that's something that we want to pursue. Like she said, it's a very short timeline, but we've already got the relationship with Proterra. So having a letter of intent and the contract already in place might make us a shoo-in. But we're looking at, that's another $300,000 worth of match for 3 more electric buses. But our chargers are 2 dual pedestal chargers. So we have 3 chargers that will charge 2 buses at a time. So that's why I put the contingency to buy 3 more buses in there. I don't know. You know,
Well, would the CARES money go towards that possibly?
no, it's operations.
operations, yeah.
Okay,
It would
so
have to be something
operations is
that,
different from VS.
more what we would have to be looking at is there enough medical transportation income to?
Do you think we do?
I haven't reviewed it yet because this is all fairly new information. I just found out about it last week. And
Well, I know it's a tight turnaround, but if we were already doing the 3 buses, it can't be a lot of difference in the paperwork. We'd be able to just mimeograph them off.
Yeah, does it have to be 3? Could it be 1,
It could
2?
be one.
I want all 3.
It could be one at a time, one this year, one next year, one the next year. But right now, before everybody else has figured out how to get the funding,
Go for it.
I'm stunned at the number of people that their response is, you got a loan now?
Who deserves it more?
Well, so if you look at the fact that we are extremely rural, we are not in any kind of an air quality mitigation area. We don't have a tax base, you know, a local tax base that is funding us. We're not a massive district, we're brand new. And I couldn't even find a plan, a 0 emission transition plan to cannibalize to get it started, because they've never really awarded to anybody as small as us.
They want to show that they can do it there too. That's why-
And
that's why I got it.
want to be successful, so I think we should ride that way, yeah. Because that's how I've always done it, you know, if it's the first year of the program, they do
Oh.
not want to look bad, so they're gonna do what they can.
So here was the other thing that Sherry and I were discussing. It might be optimal for us with the project that, and I might have brought this up before and I just am not recollecting it. But with the project next door and the increase in prices over, you know, when we had originally scoped it and, you know, what it might be now, is opening a line of credit. Is that what it is? A line of credit with Quebec. Sooner than later, not because we need it now, because, you know, we still have,
Plenty.
yeah, we're good. But.
That's when you ask for more. When you have, I know that, I've been poor a long time, and if you've got it, you need to ask for more.
But it's one of those things that, you know, if it depends on delivery of the vehicles and how much money is in the bank and when payroll hits. As we start getting, you know, more of these grants drawn out, and that bank account is less than $1 million, you know, then we would want to look at maybe paying the 300,000 match money out of a line of credit that we can pay back over time rather
Yes.
than. taking it out of our bank account.
That's just good financial.
All right, Sherry and I will follow up on that. We started the process and she has me in touch with the right person. Yeah,
Yeah, if it makes sense, but if it doesn't make sense, then don't do it. Yeah.
No, do it even if it doesn't make sense.
Jennifer has her hand up.
Hey,
Jen,
I
oh
did
yeah,
tell you that on the webinar that I listened to today, they said that, that they have over $1 billion of money and, that they were favorable towards people who already had, gotten low-no grants. So that was one of the things that I heard while I was listening to that webinar, and I'll send you the webinar along as soon as I get it, because they're supposed to be sending me the slides, so.
Did you say it was a positive or a?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that.
yeah, favorable.
Yeah.
It's like, do we have the lightest touch?
Yeah. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting when you got the big grant and stuff, that the only agency in the state and barely. And you
That
know,
got
the
more.
only one that got more money from that was TriMet
Yeah,
by just a little bit.
yeah,
TriMet,
yeah,
an agency that's huge and has been around way longer than little Umpqua
Little
Transportation
less.
District has.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, that was
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
pretty
And I
exciting.
look at all the struggles Scott Chancy has had down at Josephine County Transit just to get his little transit.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's,
I mean, just all the issues, he's gone through a lot of stuff to do that and years of turmoil
yeah,
and just trying to scrounge money here and there from different sources and.
somebody
Josephine
else,
County.
what was that?
It's Josephine County, that's why.
yeah.
He's supposed to have it
Even
completed by
worse than
December.
Douglas County.
Well, Scott is really good. Scott is excellent.
If you don't have
They
it-
come.
Yeah, he is.
If you don't have decent folks to back you up,
They have a
dysfunction.
dysfunctional county commission
Yes, they do.
by far.
I
It makes
get the
ours look like
newsletter.
geniuses.
I get the newsletter and it's so sad.
Yeah,
Well, don't
Okay,
bother commenting because you won't get a chance to.
yeah, yeah.
so that's it for now. I have another not on agenda, but I don't have any information about it yet, so.
Will it keep well?
Yeah,
Is it exciting or just?
it's exciting.
Yeah, tell us. Isn't that
You got to, even though it's 7 o'clock.
So, because I'm on the pilot for the zero emission transition plan, greenhouse gas, so I've been providing information, so that they're doing a real study on what our real greenhouse gas stuff is. I did a down and dirty, quick as I could get it in a calculator that somebody had provided for me. And so anyway, they got a new person that's in charge of that project at ODOT. And he reached out last week, so he's only been in his position for 3 weeks. And he reached out and I had to look him up, like, who is this guy? Why do I zero emission transmission? Here's your introductory letter. And then the next email was that there is going to be, I think 86 million is the number available to transit agencies that are looking at alternative fuel sources that could, he said they're looking on the corridors. So we are on a corridor that is near a corridor. So that with the 138, we're, and only 2 miles off of I-5. So they're looking at funding projects that are like pilot for cutting edge. So my response was, wouldn't that be amazing? Thanks for the heads up. And wouldn't that be amazing if we could get a hydrogen project?
Yep, that's what I'm thinking, Tom.
Yep, and so he responded back almost immediately and said, I would very much like to hear about why you think that Roseburg would
Benefit?
Benefit, yes, profit is what I was thinking, but that's not it, benefit, is it? From a hydrogen project, and so I gave him the spiel in an email. And I gave him links to go to watch videos and everything. And then he set up an interview, or not an interview, but a conversation with me last Monday. And we talked for like 45 minutes about what we could do with hydrogen here in Roseburg and the advantages to it. And it sounds like they are looking at whole projects, you know. So we're looking at a hydrogen station, you know, that includes solar. As another piece of it, you know, that it has solar built into the project. So there are a couple of different ways that we could look at doing it, you know, but if it pays for the land and the development, you know, we could.
So we could build a new highway from Coos Bay to Bend, right through here and right off the freeway. I like that.
No, we could build a hydrogen fuel station that creates the hydrogen and fuels vehicles that could fuel our fleet, and other people could pay to fuel, that generates income for our company. And if we could look at, I keep eyeing that nice flat piece of land right out here next door.
Oh, yeah.
But also the downtown, the old Safeway and Rite Aid area. If we could purchase that land through some kind of a plan like this, include the hydrogen fueling stations, and do our transit center, creating a public space that would benefit not just city of Roseburg, but the county. And you know, there's so much
Increase our
potential.
visibility and our reputation.
Well, and you know, hydrogen is going to be a big thing.
Yes, it is. But I just wonder if we can get a bigger airport.
I don't know. I'm not in charge of the airport. No.
Like, we know somebody who knows some stuff and he never tells us.
Not
How
unless
do we
they
get-
live on Evo. That's it. That's
No,
a
I
big
think
deal.
we could move out there where they were gonna put that farm, that horse crock
Oh,
thing.
Yeah.
Mexico.
There in North County.
Yes, because
Oh,
that's not gonna happen. It was a scam and everybody there is going to jail.
Oh, the horse thing.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
should be
But it sure
like,
sounded good.
Yeah,
you
like the
know,
electric car plant in Sutherland and smoke and mirrors.
yeah,
Yeah.
They're
but
not
we
doing
could like maybe really do it. How much
Yeah.
water does it need? They don't have water out there.
Gonna get it from a semi-dry creek, right?
I don't know, but you should,
Well,
you got the knowledge.
so the thing about it is creating hydrogen is not that expensive,
Mhm.
especially in our world, because we have as far as it goes, cheap electricity. And you know, we live in the Pacific Northwest, so water is not that expensive either. And there are lots of water sources. So if it costs about $6 per kilogram to manufacture it, it sells right now on the average $15 to $16 per kilogram. So it's not, if you're buying hydrogen, it's not less expensive to go with hydrogen.
But if you're making it.
But if you're making it, you can make profit. And that profit then could,
Get cheaper.
yeah, could do a lot of things. So it's just one of those things that's in my vision that I think that we could do if all the right doors open. And it would be just beneficial for so many people.
Just need
you
to
know?
talk to some people with some fleets and see if they're willing to convert it.
Right. And even if they
Because
only,
even if they could convert, is it close enough? Is it, you know, whatever drives their funding decisions?
yeah. So all good things. But just something to think about. The money isn't out there yet, but I just felt like it was a windfall to hear about it ahead of time, when we could look at
Mhm.
how much is it gonna cost to purchase one of those pieces of land? You know, and factor all of those other pieces into it and just be a step ahead. Know whether or not the city is gonna, you know, wanna partner with us, or if they're gonna say, nee, you gotta do that by yourself and prove it works, or, you know, there's a lot of different, pieces to decide, do we go big or just pilot, you know? So,
It's a good time to start though, is when you're on the ground floor. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we're at that point where you can grow.
oh,
It's just nice, the revenue side is is
yes,
really attractive.
Yes.
Just because, you know, trends was, you know, it becomes more and more expensive, so we've got the plans to do certain things that we've had to put off because costs have risen.
Yeah.
And it's things like that, you know, and you might remember, every non-federal dollar is potentially worth another $10. You know, so you've got every dollar now might be $11, you know, because you can match federal funds with it,
Yeah.
but you know, it can stretch it. So 300, even a few $100,000 a year might be a few $1 million a year to this agency.
exactly. It is 100%. That is
Sounds
so right.
so awesome.
Yeah. But to move the molecule is the expensive thing. Once you start transporting it from where you make it to somewhere else, then it gets very expensive for people. So that's why we want to make it here and use
How
it
big
here.
of a footprint does it cost it, does it take to make it?
It is surprisingly not that big.
Really?
No, I have some really cool pamphlets that I picked up at the conference that I went to last September, the Zero Emission Conference. Yeah,
So before you go too far with that, you might also just want to talk to Stu Cowie at City of Roseburg Community Development Director, just to kind of get an idea of, you know, because there aren't residential around here, are there any kind of setbacks or distance from housing, commercial, you know, in terms of citing, something like that. It's new, probably nothing in their ordinance.
Yeah, there isn't.
But there might be something similar and stuff,
Yeah.
or things that they would think in terms of creating those regulations. Just so that they can create regulations with you in mind.
Yep.
If they haven't
Yes.
had it, and sort of develop around you, rather than you trying to fit around that.
Yeah.
that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Get him and
will
Ricky
send
on
an
the
email
job.
up to him. Yeah, very good. All right, I'm done. I'm really done.
I have a question or two. Every time we have these, we're talking all these grants, you know, what, 53, 39, 52, 10, 54, whatever they are. And there's time, they're on a time schedule. Is there a way that we should be aware of these also? I think? Is there a way that they should be a part of our package? Say, hey, we have 50 or 10. I mean, it's like something like,
When it's due.
when it's due and everything, it's like, what was it? There was a,
You know what I can do? I can send you a link that will take you directly to our public transit page on the ODOT website. And under funding sources, not only does it tell you what it is, you know, what the number is, what it is, and then when it's due, the timeline, all of that, it's what you can use it for, what your match rate is. And then you could go a little bit further down and find out what they funded, what kinds of projects they funded with it before. It is, you could read for days. Yeah.
It's just like, you know, I can't remember all of this, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard something of the 5304, which is planning, was supposed to be 2023, but it's been pushed into 2024. So I don't know what, somewhere I found out that that's planning, the 5304, but you know. But and I had to make a note as I heard it, you know,
Uh-huh.
and so I do better read it, you know,
Yeah.
something that's, and that's, so, just a thought, you know,
Can I check these?
Sure, I don't,
I mean, when the meeting's over,
uh,
because he can go on forever, I think. I'm supposed.
and I think you mentioned this was on my questions about the lifeline. I think that's what you said was because we don't have the buses, we can't put that back in. Okay,
Yes.
so,
This last month, we have probably had more days where we ran 12 routes, 6 in the morning, 6 in the evening, on 6 buses. If we'd had a bus breakdown, we would have had to shut down a route. And this is the first time that we've had that many vehicles out of service all at the same time, but we'd get one back into service and another one would go down. So, yeah,
That's a
that's,
symptom of not getting new buses.
yeah, yeah. So it's makes you just like, yeah,
Randy, do your magic.
yeah, well,
That's it.
so we have to calm Randy down sometimes too, because he's like, oh. There's only one of me. So, yeah, it is just a symptom of rural, really, you know, and we are overcoming where we started from 4 years ago, always being underfunded.
Mhm.
You know, all of the other vehicles were replaced before any of the transit vehicles were. And when we got those 5 new internationals, it was because I had emailed asking, like, on a daily basis, if the county had submitted our application yet. And they did not. I didn't know. I never got an answer until way after the fact. But I hit submit at the last moment, and we got, that was the first grant that I got funded for those 5 vehicles for like $680,000. And we were one of 24 projects nationwide that got funded. So, you know, that was the demonstrated need. You know, our buses were so old that, yeah, that they funded us. Yeah.
Now, what year was that now that we got those?
I want to say, so the grant was 2014 when I was awarded, and we took delivery 2016. And they're supposed to be in service for 7 years, but they have had,
This year?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what my math says.
they've had issues from the gate, yeah.
Wow.
So they really need to be replaced. So that's what the 5339, I'm gonna have to,
That was back when the county ran dial, right?
Yeah.
They didn't run fixed service. I just want to let that one go.
Okay,
Where-
then.
where did John Pugh Public find out where your website is? How come the website isn't on the bus? So people know how to get there.
oh, it is, it's on every
I
bus.
thought it was on every bus
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Uncle Transit.
Yeah, I've never,
It's up above the windows on the passenger and driver side, and I don't think it's on the back. I think the back
That's
says
the part that doesn't move when you're sitting at the light.
lights flashing.
I think that would be a place to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have the stops at the railroad crossings on there, and the
The train can read them.
It's on the very, very.
I don't know. This isn't making any sense.
It's on the
So-
top on the side. Is it on the top? on the
And
back?
if a plane flying over could read it if it was on the roof.
I'd have to look.
So it needs to be on the back. I think that's the point.
I don't know, I don't look way up on top there, I'm looking at underneath the
Confuse
window, that's
people,
what
but
your
don't
eye
look
level
at
is.
it.
Yeah.
Old people don't.
Because that's where they put advertising on the side, and then above the windows, they have, it says Uncle Transit.
I understand that.
But yeah, it would be nice to have it in the back, yeah.
You know,
I'll think about it.
It's just a-
Okay,
I mean, it just
okay.
smaller letters. I mean,
That's a
it's-
good suggestion. I hadn't looked at it like that.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
is that
that's all I have.
That's
not
all.
all?
That's it, and that's
Not
all.
on the agenda, public comment, agenda build? God,
Ah,
I have public comments.
Okay, any public comments?
We have no
Seeing
public.
seeing no public comment, we will move on to agenda build for the March 13th meeting.
Executive session for general manager.
okay,
And were we bringing something back on the budget committee?
Oh, so the budget committee, so our next meeting be in March? No, we're just in the timeline right now. We will,
What about the application?
Yeah, the
bylaws.
application.
And
We're gonna put the application online probably as, if I know Christine, it'll be there tomorrow.
Thanks. Like I didn't have anything.
As
else
far
to
as,
do.
as far as bylaws and stuff, you guys could just draft up some bylaws and make a recommendation to the
Yeah,
board.
yeah, just
Based
so
on
we have
whatever you
something
guys see and
to,
read and find and.
something to
Yeah.
get through and we'll prove it and we can labor over it later.
All right,
Any other requests for the agenda for next month? Just a reminder, I will be running it remotely as I will be in California with my daughter.
Yay. I hope it's a good thing.
She's having a baby.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess that is.
Grandma babies.
Yeah.
Fun.
Okay,
Okay.
if there is nothing else, we are adjourned at 7:19.
thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Talk to you guys soon.
Great.
Bye.
Good night.
Right.
Oh.